Okay, good afternoon everybody. It's Martin S51989 here, and now it's time for episode 19 of Martin Talkz, in which you remember in the last episode of Martin Talkz I reviewed the original Home Alone film. And well, for today's episode of Martin Talkz, I'm going to review the 1992 sequel, which is none other than Home Alone 2: Lost in New York. Now, and pretty much most of the cast returns to reprise their roles in this movie. It's definitely true. And as you see, we have the spine and the back. It says, "America's smallest hero takes a giant bite out of the Big Apple." Doesn't have many features. Because it does feature trailers though for Home Alone and for this film as well. Now, this sequel came out in theaters November of 1992, and some of the new upper cast, there's also some new cast members too, which include, as the new cast members include Rob Schiender as Cedric the hotel bellboy. You have Tim Curry playing Mr. Hector, the hotel concierge. And of course, Brenda Fricker playing the Pigeon Lady. As well as one other actor, I don't know his name, but he played Mr. Duncan, who was the owner of Duncan's Toy Chest. But anyways, let's get to the plot. Alright, back at the McAllister's house, Kevin is getting ready to prepare for... The McAllisters are getting ready to prepare for another Christmas away from home, but this time they're planning to go to Florida. This time, I'm all the way down to Miami. But of course, at that one evening, with most of the family, the McAllister family's dressed up pretty much a bit. The reason why they're dressed up is because it's the night of the St. Gerard's School Christmas pageant, which this is also a choir concert, which Kevin is in that show along with Jeff and Buzz, and I don't know who else, but anyways, Kevin is ending up watching a fictitious game show called Ding Dang Dong, which the host of the show is none other than the legendary Bob Eubanks. But after seeing that show, when he does record something on the talkboy, when he hears the voice, "Guests of the new Ding Dang Dong stay at the world-renowned Plaza Hotel, New York's finest hotel experience," and he also gives out the phone number, or which I can't remember. It's hard to say, so I won't give it out, but it is a toll-free number, though. Oh, the Plaza Hotel does exist in New York in real life. I'm sure some people have been there, but anyways, after that, there's the Christmas pageant, which it ends up getting ruined, because while Kevin is singing his solo, when they do the song My Christmas Tree, this is one version, there is also a full version that's sung by the Fox Albert Choir, aka also known as the Home Alone Children's Choir, on the Home Alone 2 soundtrack, which it's also the only song that John Williams did not compose for the film, because Alan Menken composed that song for Home Alone 2. But anyways, the choir, it's ruined, because after that, when he sees what his brother Buzz is doing, he ends up knocking Kevin down, and all the choir members fall down, and with that, the pageant is ruined, and only Kevin's the only one who stays up. But then that night back at home, Buzz says that he apologizes for his prank, even though he didn't commit it, but Kevin then goes upstairs to the 3rd floor. But of course, before that, he does hear his Uncle Frank go, "You better not ruin this trip, kid. Your dad's paid good money for it." Oh yeah, and also at the beginning, another quote he said when Fuller was drinking Pepsi, Frank said, "Hey, easy on the sodas, pal. The rubber sheets are packed." But of course, oh yeah, and also before the concert, he does see his Uncle Frank taking a shower and singing "Cool Jerk," which when Uncle Frank finds Kevin in the bathroom, well, he does record it, but of course, when Uncle Frank finds Kevin in the bathroom, he says, "Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'll slap you silly! Oh, you're cooking, Frankie!" Like that. But then going back when Kevin is asleep, of course, then the next morning, they realize that Kevin and Peter and Kate have slept in again. This time they said, "We did it again!" And once again, they have to make a big rush for the airport. This time, Kevin is with them, because he does have his ticket, and he says, 14! Good thing I have my own ticket, just in case you try to ditch me. Then they're off to Chicago O'Hare, and they get ready to go to the gates. They're going to gate H-17, which is for an American Airlines flight to Miami, but then However, Kevin starts to lose his dad, and then he follows the number man, and he ends up going into Terminal K, which I can't remember the gate, but the flight that leaves the gate, he's on the flight which heads out from Chicago O'Hare Airport all the way to LaGuardia Airport in New York City. So in this case, Kevin is separated from his family, and Kevin has gotten on the wrong flight. Because when he arrives in New York, Archie then starts to realize, and then he says, "My family's in Florida, and I'm in New York?" Like that, and then with Kevin in New York, he gets to see all the sights. And this was also filmed back when the two World Trade Center towers were still standing. This was 9 years before the 9/11 attacks, because there is a scene of Kevin being standing on the towers, which it's been cut from ABC Family airings because they don't want to use references to 9/11, but this DVD has the movie completely uncut because it's 2 hours long. But anyways, after he's in New York, he has a lot of fun, and of course there but also in New York, he realized that the villains Marv and Harry have also come to New York because they broke out of jail. And they had some freedom, and then of course then after that, Kevin then finally finds the Plaza Hotel, and he gets ready and he starts to make a reservation over the phone, which first he records it onto a talkboy, then he uses the low bass voice and says to the reservation, saying, "Howdy do, this is Peter McAllister, the father. I'd like a hotel room, please, with an extra large bed, a TV, and one of those little refrigerators that you have to open with a key. Credit card? You got it." And then he checks in. Of course, also at the lobby, when he sees Cedric and Mr. Hector says to Cedric, "Cedric, don't count your tips in public." Right, but of course then after that, Cedric the bellboy then takes Kevin to his hotel suite room, and then he enjoys the suites there and everything. And then meanwhile, while the other family members have arrived in Miami, of course, Kate and Peter then go to airport security to talk about Kevin, and Peter then realizes that Kevin has Peter's wallet, which contains his credit card. So yeah. But anyways, after that, meanwhile back in New York, while it's a stormy in Miami, and it's still beautiful in New York though, because in New York Kevin then watches a gangster movie. It's a sequel called Angels with Even Filthier Souls, which uses the gangster giant character, and since the female says, "I'm gonna give you to the count of 3" and something, but he attacks, and then he finally says, "Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year." But before the count he says, "You weren't singing, you were smooching with my brother." Like that, and then after that he has a good thing. And while he's enjoying the movie, another person of room service is up to serve ice cream, and he says, "2 scoops, sir." "Make that 3. I'm not driving." And then while he was in his hotel room, he looks in the wallet and he finds out that Kevin's uncle Rob McAllister lives in New York, and he'd visit their place if they were back from Paris. Because Rob and Aunt Georgette were seen in the first movie, but they're not seen in this one. But anyways, after that and then later that night, after the meal, Mr. Hector, then the concierge, then checks the room to see if everything's alright. Kevin ends up hiding in the bathroom, and since he brought an inflatable bozo clown with him, he plays the tape of Uncle Frank singing in the shower with the bozo clown now in the shower, and then just like Uncle Frank said to Kevin, the clown then says to Mr. Hector, he tells Mr. Hector to leave, and I'll say the quote again, "Get out of here, you nosy little pervert, or I'll slap you silly!" Like that. But anyways, after that, then the next morning, Mr. Hector then checks on him and says all the room's alright, and he says there's a limousine and the pizza. So, and then Cedric gives Kevin his own cheese pizza, and he rides in a limo, and they finally arrive at a big fictitious toy store known as Duncan's Toy Chest. Of course, at the toy chest, he again gets all his toys, and he also takes 2 turtle doves to show appreciation since Mr. Duncan was making a donation to the Children's Hospital. Then after that, of course, after he leaves the store, he enjoys something, but then Marv and Harry also find him, and leads to my favorite quote, which Harry says, "Hiya, pal!" in which Kevin makes a big scream and going, "Ah!" Like that. It was kind of packing, and then he flees the wet bandits, and he's heading back to the hotel. Then, while he's at the hotel, Mr. Hector then realizes that the credit card is stolen, and he has that card, and he says, What's the matter? Store wouldn't take your stolen credit card? Of course, he then gets caught by the Wet Bandits later, and the Wet Bandits tell Kevin of their plot that they're planning to rob Duncan's toy chest. But in the meantime, after that plot is filled, he then somehow gets into trouble. He then starts to arrive at a park at night, but then that's when he makes his second encounter with the Pigeon Lady. His first encounter was earlier, but he didn't like the Pigeon Lady. But then the Pigeon Lady realizes that she's not as evil, and she becomes friends, and the Pigeon Lady then takes Kevin out over to a big loft over in New York's famous Carnegie Hall when he hears the orchestra play "Oh Come All Ye Faithful," and all this, and he mentions about this. Then after that's over, he then heads over to Uncle Rob and Aunt Georgette's house, which the house is being renovated, and it doesn't, but so they're not home. But then after that, meanwhile, back in Florida, well, when the McAllister family's staying at some motel, they had a call and they realized that they found Kevin because Kevin was in New York, and they get on a flight from Miami to New York. They do arrive in New York, and the hotel staff then checks the rest of the McAllister family into a suite at the Plaza Hotel. Meanwhile, Kevin gets ready. Son Marv and Harry get ready, and they begin to rob Duncan's toy chest. Kevin then throws a ball, a rock, which breaks the window. It sets off the alarm. And then Marv and Harry then chase Kevin, and they end up going into Uncle Rob and Aunt Georgette's house, and Kevin has a bunch of traps set up again, and it makes them, including two chests and all this, and kerosene, and the traps work, and with that, Marv and Harry finally get injured, and Kevin finally defeats them, does defeat them, and then they go back to, he chases them to Central Park, where the Pigeon Lady finally stops the Wet Bandits, and with that, everything is saved again. And then after that Kevin then goes to Rockefeller Center to look at the tree, and once there, she finds her mother finally finds Kevin there, and is happy to see him. Then they go back to the hotel, and then it's Christmas morning, and Kevin has the opportunity of opening the first present, and then after that, she then notices that he wants to give something, and then Kevin rushes out and sees the Pigeon Lady again, and with that, he gives one of the 2 turtle doves that he got from Duncan's toy chest, and it's an appreciation. Meanwhile, Cedric shows Buzz the Kevin's room service bill, which is a total of $767 and something cents. He then informs Dad by saying, "Oh, Dad!" And Kevin's father gets angry, and as the film ends with this quote, which Kevin's father says, "Kevin, you spent $967 on room service!" Yep, and the film ends. And this sequel, though it may have grossed less money than the original film, it's still very good, and and I like the sequel a lot as well. It's because Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, I'll also give a perfect 10. I enjoy seeing this, and ABC Family does air this movie a lot during the 25 days of Christmas. Well, they also air it at other times of the year too, but more often you should see it around Christmas time. As after all, Home Alone 2 will still always be a great classic, and I recommend then you get this DVD. So, Home Alone 2, great film. Okay, that wraps it up for episode 19 of Martin Talkz. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And now, for an announcement of my next episode of Martin Talkz is going to be my last Christmas movie that I will review. And for that, it's a good thing I've saved the best Christmas movie for last, because for the final holiday movie that I will review for an episode of Martin Talkz, it'll be none other than that popular 1983 film, and which is also my all-time favorite holiday movie. In fact, a favorite for most everyone else as well. That great classic, A Christmas Story. But until then, have a good day, and you'll definitely not want to miss out on my review of A Christmas Story when it comes around. So, I'll see you then.